Hello and welcome to the rundown on Women's Football Talk. Each week we look at the fixtures ahead this weekend in the WSL and all the leagues around Europe. Now this is the final rundown before this international break, which starts on Monday, and that will be our final international break of 2022. But we have some fantastic fixtures to look forward to this weekend in both the WSL and in the European leagues. But before we get into that, make sure you smash that subscribe button and turn on the post notification bell so we can hit 500 subscribers before the end of the year, and that you're following us on Twitter and on Instagram for all the latest news and stories as and when it happens. So let's have a look at the games this weekend, and where we are starting is the Sunday evening game in the WSL between Manchester United and Chelsea. So looking at the two teams this season, Manchester United are top of the league on goal difference, having scored 14 goals and are yet to concede this season, having won all 5 of their games, whilst Chelsea, they have played a game more than Manchester United but also sit on 15 points and are in third place. So both teams are the two teams, or two of the three teams, in the best form in the WSL at the minute and are looking really good. This is Manchester United's biggest challenge to date so far in this season. Their games otherwise they've been against teams that you would expect them to beat, and Mark's side are actually looking really good this season and a lot more promising than they have done in seasons past. Chelsea, on the other hand, obviously they had that slow start off against Liverpool, but now have looked really good in these last few games, especially last week against Aston Villa. If you look at the link up between Sam Kerr and Lauren James, was absolutely fantastic throughout that game, and it is definitely going to be a duo that Manchester United have to try and watch and deal with, because this is obviously the United's defenders' biggest task so far heading into this weekend's games. Obviously the last time that these two sides met was back at the end of last season, when Chelsea obviously went on to win the WSL title, winning 4-2. And of all the 5 games that have happened between these two sides, Chelsea have won 4, with there being one draw that was back in September of 2020. So it's a fixture that does favour heavily of Emma Hayes' side, but obviously Manchester United look a much more rounded team this season, and will be very interesting to see how they can cope going against Chelsea's Blues side. Obviously we saw Alessia Russo come back into action last week for Mark Skinner's side. As far as I'm aware, there is no injury concerns for Manchester United heading into this weekend's fixtures, and similarly for Chelsea, there isn't any injury concerns as of time of recording. Obviously this may change between now and obviously when the game kicks off in a Sunday evening fixture, which will be the last game in the WSL before the international break. So let's have a look at the other games taking place this weekend, and we'll start off with the 2 o'clock game between Leicester City and Arsenal. Now it's been confirmed that Vivianne Miedema will not be playing in this game for Arsenal, as she's been given an absence of leave, a bit of respite and a period of rest due to the amount of games she's been played over the last 12 to 15 months. She hasn't been selected by the Netherlands to take part in their upcoming international friendlies, so Netherlands fans won't see her there, and it's very much good rest for Miedema, because if you look back to last season when they had rest for Caitlin Ford and Steph Catley, even Miedema herself had a rest last year. It definitely profited Arsenal in the second half of the season, and obviously we're going into a World Cup year, you want your players fully rested and have as much energy as possible. Now obviously that is going to hamper them a bit in terms of lineup, but obviously you would expect Arsenal to go with the same lineup as they've had over the last couple of games, where you've seen Blackstenius lead the line with Caitlin Ford and Beth Mead on either wing, and then Frida Marnham, Leah Volti and Kim Little, should she be fit. We don't know the full extent of Kim Little's injury, obviously, as she went off last week against West Ham, but if she's okay to go, then I would expect that to be the lineup. Or maybe if Kim Little's not fit enough to play, then we'll see Mana Iwabuchi possibly come into that midfield. In terms of waiting for Leah Williamson and Raffaelli to come back from their injuries, still no updates. Obviously will be after this international break when we could potentially see either of them. Whether it be the first week back or not remains to be seen. Obviously Leicester still looking for their first points this season after a poor start to the season, only scoring 2 goals and conceding 12, and obviously last week's heartbreak conceding 2 really late on to Reading didn't help Lydia Bedford's side's course. So the rest of the games, we have Liverpool versus Aston Villa, Reading Man City, Tottenham Everton, all at 2 o'clock, as well as Leicester Arsenal, and then West Ham versus Brighton is the 3 o'clock game, and Manchester United versus Chelsea at 6:45 p.m. GMT Barclays. Now we're on GMT, not BST, as the clocks changed last week. So let's have a look at the games happening in Europe this weekend, and we'll start off in Spain, as it is El Clasico this weekend, as Real Madrid play host to Barcelona on Sunday at 5 o'clock. Absolutely fantastic game. Two teams looking really good this season. As of time of recording, both teams will be playing a game later on today, but it should be a really good game that on Sunday evening between Real Madrid and Barcelona. Elsewhere, Atletico Madrid play at home on Saturday afternoon, whilst Real Sociedad are the first game this weekend as they play host to Madrid CFF on Saturday lunchtime. Over in Germany this weekend, we have the one game as Hoffenheim take on by Leverkusen on Friday evening at 6:15, and then one game on Saturday as Bayern Munich travel to Freiburg, and then the rest of the games take place on Sunday. And one of the big games obviously will be Wolfsburg-Duisburg. Wolfsburg trying to keep up their fantastic start to this season in the Bundesliga. Over in Germany, we have the two games on Friday. Kicking off later on, the first one is Rodez versus Dijon at 5:30, and then Paris FC versus Bordeaux. The rest of the games are taking place on Saturday. Lyon travel to Guingamp, and Paris Saint-Germain play host to Montpellier. Over in the Netherlands, we have obviously the collection of their games taking place this Friday, with Telstar playing FC Twente, Excelsior playing Fortuna Sittard, Heerenveen versus Vol, and VV Alkmaar versus PSV. And then on Sunday it is the Classica as Feyenoord play host to Ajax, which should be a really good game between those two sides. Obviously Ajax will probably be the short favourites in that game, but it should still be a really good game nonetheless between those two sides. And then finally, over in Italy, we don't have any league action this weekend, so there won't be anything happening over in the Italian league. But that is it. We have all the fixtures to look forward to. Some great fixtures, obviously. Manchester United, Chelsea, El Clasico over in Spain, and the Clasica over in the Netherlands. Some fantastic fixtures to look out for this weekend. Right, we'll be back on Monday to recap all the fixtures and all the talking points from this weekend's action. And until then, like I said at the start, make sure you subscribe to the channel with a post notification bell turned on so we can get to 500 subscribers by the end of this year, and that you are following us on Twitter and on Instagram for all the latest news and stories as and when it happens. And until next time, we'll see you soon.